Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Views and Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today, welcome a special guest way out there in the West Coast. We got Eric Morettin. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How are you? It's good to see you. Good to hear from you.
No worries. And good to have you on here too. I guess how you been recently? What's new?
Been doing pretty good. Summer's been pretty good. Did a little bit of vacationing. But honestly, all in between that, just hammering out as much music and YouTube content as I can. And yeah, just everything that I can do like within that realm of music, doing that. I also do guitar setups and repairs and maintenance for those who are maybe new to who I am. But it's a summer. People have other things that are going on. Shows are kind of slowing down for the summer. People are out at camp or whatever vacationing. So guitars have been kind of a little slow in that department, but as fall picks up, we're getting right back to speed. I'm getting all the messages, and I'm just anticipating a big old wash of, hey, can you fix my guitar once after Labor Day? So yeah, I'm just getting ready for that and enjoying the last little bit of summer. How about you?
Well, not doing much for the rest of August here, but September's going to be a good one. First time I got tickets to see Green Day that first week of September.
Nice.
And here's a funny one right here because I'm actually going to see Megadeth, and they're going to have Mudvayne and All That Remains coming to Pittsburgh, where I hail from.
Nice. One of my buddies, he actually just went down to Seattle and he caught that show and he said it was just amazing. And Mudvayne is a band that I've wanted to see for a while, especially now seeing the new live footage of them. And it's like, wow, it's amazing. Like, would love to go see them.
They brought the makeup back, so I'm actually kind of excited to actually see that, or at least I should say quasi, because I don't think it's like the same as what it was in 2001.
I know, it's like LD50 all over again. It's like literally what everyone wants is that quality of music and just all the imagery. Because I remember when they took the face paint away and everyone was just kind of like, okay, whatever. It's fine. But like, then of course they bring it back and it's like everyone loves it.
Well, it was really what established their identity, to be honest, when they came onto it. It was like, holy shit, who are these guys? And it's like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah, well, imagine if Slipknot was mid-career and they just didn't have masks for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, I know they almost did in like that Before I Forget video. That's when they did like the really close-up shots and like their eyes and like maybe their mouths, but like no full face shots because they wanted to have that kind of lore and like anonymity of not knowing who the members are. But imagine if that band or like bands that are masked and things like that, they just did that mid-career and the mystery's gone, even though you can kind of Google all these people now. But like, I don't know, there's something fun about like adding a visual element like that to to your live show or like your band image, right?
I want to say it's kind of similar to how Kiss was when Kiss came out, and our dads or grandparents or whatever, uncles, they saw them and were like, holy shit, this is awesome, man. These guys are making some theatrics and everything. The music's good. It was kind of our Kiss, to be honest with you, too. It was that sort of thing.
It's so true. Then like even was it Gen X or Gen Z or Z for the Americans? That's their sleep token, I guess. Maybe
I have no idea. I don't know if Sleep Token does any masks. I heard their music, but I don't know too much about them.
they do masks and like they don't have like their names or anything. It's like number 1 or number 3 or 2 from Sleep Token. But I mean, with the internet, you can just Google them and it's like, oh, this is who this person is.
I mean, I want to say it's more of a Corey Taylor that has more of a singing voice than a growl or screaming sort of voice, I should say. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I remember when I was young and watching like music videos on MTV, and I remember seeing the video for 30-31-50 from Stone Sour, and I'm like, I hear like the voice, and I'm like, why does this guy sound like the guy from Slipknot? Then I did like a quick Google back then. I'm like, oh my god, it's the same guy. Then like trying to like find a moment where I can like see a close up of this guy's face because it's like, oh my god, like there's the singer from Slipknot without his mask on. Like this is crazy. Why would he ever take his mask off? As like a young kid or whatever, but not realizing that was his band before he joined Slipknot.
Yeah, that's a long story short, to be honest, there too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just to fill the audience, I guess, where are you hailing from, actually?
Yeah, so I am from West Coast of Canada, and it's a nice gloomy West Coast day for all of those who have been to the West Coast or just the PNW. It gets pretty gloomy here, but it is pretty lush, so it is a nice, I guess, a trade-off or a dynamic in that sense.
Should say like a duality or something like that in this case.
The duality of like, sure, it doesn't snow that much out here, but like it is pretty dreary at times, but it's also pretty lush and pretty green and vibrant when the coast isn't on fire. You know what I mean?
That too. Like I said, speaking of which, have you guys been okay? Has there been any wildfires in your neck of the woods?
That's ironic that you say neck of the woods, which we'll get to that later. um, where I am, I think we're pretty okay. I know the interior is suffering pretty bad, then especially like really north, close to like this area called Jasper, that's in Alberta. That place, that city was on fire. Then the surrounding region was pretty much lit up as well. So that's been pretty scary. But there's nothing like down here, like right where I am, like really close to the coast. But yeah, it's scary. It's a thing that happens, and that's the thing. There's a lot of people who love the coast, whether it's Western Canada or it's the PNW or just the west coast of the United States. Like, yeah, it's beautiful, but you got your wildfires, you got the fault line, and you're also on a coast. So there's also that risk of flooding or other natural disasters that you just kind of don't want to think about, right? It's a bit of the trade-off for living in such a beautiful area, as ironic or as the duality of it is, to be totally honest.
As you do remember being in Western Canada, that was back in 2018, and
Yeah.
you goes to Vancouver.
Yes, yeah, pretty much just Vancouver.
And it was Vancouver, and actually we did work our way to Jasper, so it's pretty unfortunate you mentioned about that. And I guess has Banff been okay? Because Banff was I think one of our last stops that we had stopped out for and making our way to Calgary.
I haven't really checked, but I think Banff is okay. Don't quote me on that as of, I guess, the time of recording this, but it seems like it's okay. I know Jasper has really made the news for how much it's been impacted by the wildfires for the summer. I haven't really looked too much into Banff though, so probably something to look into later.
Okay, those people stay safe out there, mates. So
yeah,
stay safe.
Yeah, for real.
And I guess why is it a little bit of a coincidence that I say neck of the woods?
Well, I guess it's ironic that you say Neck of the Woods because that's the band that I play, and that's our name. It's called Neck of the Woods.
All right. Well, you get to elaborate on that just a little bit here too. But Eric, I know we kind of went off a little bit of a tangent there talking about this and that, but I do want to welcome you into my podcast. And the way this is going to work is I can ask you some questions. I send them over to you because actually, to fill in the audience, I actually reached out to Eric sometime last year, and it wasn't until recently that he finally had responded. I guess it ended up in your junk box or something.
Yeah, it did end up in my junk mail, and I think my email system just doesn't like filter out junk mail for a while, so I had like a lot of stuff that was still in there, and I'm like looking through, I'm like podcast invite, so I do a quick Google search on your podcast. I'm like, okay, well it's legit, and I write back, I'm like, oh well, didn't see this here because I never check my spam, which is probably something I should for whenever you get stuff in your mail, always check your spam or whatever. So yeah, check my spam, then here we are now, like a year later ish.
Close enough. I think it was back in November, to be honest. But regardless, got him right here on the podcast. So I'm going to ask him some questions. It's good to know the man behind the music as well, and also on the YouTube channel because looks like he's got quite an extensive YouTube channel. So this ought to be interesting. So
yeah,
ready?
For sure. Let's do it. Let's hop in.
So if you know how the story goes, we always need a beginning, middle, and an end. So start at the very beginning when you were just a wee lad, as the Scotch would like to say. But I guess who are you, and how did you become a musician?
Right on. So yeah, my name's Eric, and more or less, like I've been a musician for a better part of my life at this point. A little quick overview of who I am and what I do. I mainly play guitar. I play bass as in a band called Neck of the Woods, as I mentioned earlier. Then I also have my own individual recordings that I do, my own solo stuff as well. I played in a lot of original bands back in my hometown and in various different styles of metal. Did a lot of cover bands growing up as well, and I also do a lot of like YouTube stuff as well and like social media stuff. I don't want to say it's like a huge following or a decent following, but like it's good, for what it is. And it's a fun thing that I like to do as well. And it's, a great place that brings people together. And I'm fortunate to say that I have the ability to kind of do that. And another thing is that I also like to work on guitars and fix guitars as well. So that is another thing that I do as well. And speaking of my YouTube channel, I also have like tutorials on my channel of like, me taking in a guitar, I'm going to set it up. I'm going to walk you through like how you set it up or like change pickups, how to wire, how to solder, how to install a pickup, how to clean your frets, how to get the lowest action on your guitar, things like that. And for me, it's just like that's all stuff I've picked up and I kind of want to pass it on more or less and make it a fun, interactive thing. And but yeah, that's kind of like a snapshot of who I am. But if we're going to do like a fully detailed thing, like a lot of it just started back in probably when I was in elementary school. And, when your parents are kind of asking you like, oh, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want your hobby to be? Or like, what's your thing? Right. So for me, like I was kind of in between like sports and things like that. I did soccer and martial arts when I was younger. And within that, like I dropped out of soccer. I really wasn't enjoying it too much. And I was still in martial arts. I still liked that. But then my parents wanted to enroll me in something else. I tried a few other things and I was like, yeah, this is fine. It was just fun to do as like an on the side kind of sport, but nothing like super competitive or anything like that. I know my parents asked me if I wanted to do hockey, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, that's not really my thing. Football, nah. I'm more of like I'd rather just watch it. You know what I mean? Like that's where I get my enjoyment out of it. But the one sport that did really stick with me, like from like my youth, would probably be golf. But that's for a whole other thing. So within all that, my parents, it's getting around the time for Christmas, and then within that time, I think I was in like grade 6 when I started like getting an idea of like maybe not the idea, but like really understanding of like an appreciation for like an early like interest in music. So I remember watching this old channel called MTV's like Much Loud. So that was like all the heavier styles of music, so all the alternative rock and the metal, all of that, and all the music videos just on regular rotation throughout the whole day. And you just watch music videos all day, which was pretty amazing. So every time I'd come home from school or whatever, it's like I just throw that on because that was kind of what I was into at the time. And I guess my parents just kind of picked that up potentially, or even it kind of turned into as well, like, we got to get our son into some sort of activity or something. And like, well, he's not really into sports, and why don't we just get him a guitar? And out of nowhere, it was just like, wake up one Christmas morning and I opened a box and it's like, oh, there's a guitar. Like, was totally not expecting that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's just see what happens. And then, of course, like, being young, naive, and I'm like, okay, well, I can play this thing, whatever. And every time, like, my parents would be like, oh, so, like, how's that guitar coming along, And I'm like, oh, I can play. Like, why don't you play something for us? I'm like, I don't know. Totally excuse of like, I actually can't play it. Like, I'll do it later or whatever, like just totally putting it off, like homework or whatever. And then it eventually turned into my mom enrolling me in lessons at a local music store. And, you know, eventually, like, kind of like the rest is history. I remember leaving that first lesson and being like, dang, like this was like super hard and like this was like challenging. And my mom was just like, oh, the more that you practice, the more like you get better at it. And I remember like distinctly, my mom was even saying to like the owner of the music store, like, hey, like, so just whatever my son wants to learn, just give him that. And at that time, I was like kind of getting into rock metal, as I said a little bit earlier. And the guitar teacher I had, he was like super long hair, probably like dreadlocks, baggy jeans, wore a toque in the middle of summer. So that enough was like pretty impressionable for like a young kid like myself. And then within that time, like my best friend was also getting into music as well. And I think he got a bass guitar around that time as well, which I was a little jealous of because I actually always wanted to play bass, which is probably for later anyways. But so we started playing music together around that time, and he went to a different school, and he was meeting up with like other friends of his that were playing music as well that were like more advanced than us. So we had other people to learn from. And another thing that probably good is that you learn from people that are better than you at whatever skill or instrument or hobby that it is, because that's how you get better. So we started hanging out with some other people that were like really good at music for our age, and we would learn from them. And then within that, like every week and like every day after school, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to open this book, like this Guitar World or like Total Guitar magazine, open it up, try and learn these songs, and like go on YouTube, go on LimeWire, try and download these songs. And like, wow, this is what this song sounds like. That's cool. Or just like trying to like read tabs and just like put the whole thing together. And it's like, dang, this is hard. And I remember even like learning my first song like on my own, like just playing through it, like just reading the tabs. And it was like, that was such a huge accomplishment. And that's something that I never knew that I was able to do like when I was so young. But I was like, wow, I guess I did that. Maybe I can try another song or something. And then it just turned into like learning more songs, jamming with more people, then turning into like my best friend and I just being like, hey, well, if we can kind of play these songs, why don't we start playing the songs of our favorite band, which was like Pantera and Tool, respectively. So it's like every day after school or every like weekend, it's like, all right, let's get together. Let's try and learn these songs. Oh, you got the new Guitar World magazine. All right, let's open it up. Let's try and figure out this song or whatever. So we would do that all the time. And then it turned into like hey, I printed out some tab paper and I was kind of noodling around on my bass, and then like for my best friend, and I wrote this riff. Let's try playing. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then that's kind of how that started for us, like starting to write music, which then formed our first band known as the Vilification, which is went through like some style changes. But most recently, where we kind of are right now, we're kind of like the best way I could describe the band is like Periphery meets Sixth meets Tony Danza tap dance meets Architects. So it's kind of like that proggy tech mathcore hybrid thing, and with a lot of like melodic elements in it too, with especially the new stuff that we're working on. But when we really started and we were just kind of playing like some metalcore, then we eventually started listening to Periphery, and that's when it turned into like, oh, we want to do this because we were super inspired by Misha and the guys for that style. It was just like a random find on SoundClick one day, and it was like, okay, this is super cool. Then you watch the YouTube videos, and it's like crazy guitar rig with like crazy expensive gear, and I'm like, wow, and it sounds incredible. I'm like, this is amazing. I want to sound like this guy. So that's the kind of style of music that we started doing. And then I remember we were in between vocalists at one point in the band's history, and then our guitar player at the time, second guitar player, he put on a local like music thread asking if to find like a djenty vocalist. And if you know what djent is, it's the onomatopoeia of the sound of when you heavily palm mute and down pick like open notes or just notes on a guitar. So it's that jun jun jun. So then our guitar player was just like, oh, let's djenty vocalist. And everyone, it was 20 pages, literally 20 pages on a thread of what is djent. Then we were describing it to all these different people. Like, what does this mean? Oh, let's link to Periphery. It's this. This is djent. Da 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 da. A, B, C, and D. So it turned into so many threads and so much popularity on that thread that we were like the second search result in Google for a hot minute for the word djent, which was hilarious. So that was kind of funny. But then like eventually found a vocalist, and then, a couple different style changes, writing more music and everything like that. And eventually that got us to where we are right now. And then eventually working on new music, playing tons and tons of shows like throughout, the home community music scene, and, trying to get into home recordings and things like that, and learning along the way of how all of that is done. Then within that time as well, I actually got approached by a guy named Blake, and he was older than me at the time, obviously still is. And he was just like, hey, like, I'm putting together a new band, and I get it that you are, you're kind of still young, like you're in high school or whatever, but you're a really good guitar player, and I want you to play guitar in my band. So at that point, it just kind of hit me of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I guess practicing maybe paid off in some way, shape, or form, because at that point, it's like you get together with your buddies in like your close circle of friends or your band, and there's no real like, obviously your friends are going to hype you up regardless, right? Like, oh, that sounds great, man. Yeah. Oh, you're sounding deadly or whatever. But it's different when there's someone who's outside of your friend group who looks in and is just like, you sound really good, and I've seen you play a bunch, and you can hold it together live, and I would like you to play in my band. So then I took this as like a bit of a learning opportunity of being like, well, maybe this is a good time to try something new, play a different style of metal, and then write a little bit differently and learn from people who have been doing this forever. And it was such a really good experience, even though the band doesn't exist anymore. But it was such a fun and stress-free time, because working with people who have done the whole band thing before, it was like, okay, well, we do things this way. We do this, this, and this, and this way, and we don't do it this way because of all of these other reasons that we had to walk through, and we just don't want to do that again. And it's like, oh, well, this is so nice to know. And then trying to take that and apply it to my band, my main band as well, and try and, help, have my band not make some of those mistakes as well, or if there were going to be any band mistakes or whatever, or anything like that. But yeah, then eventually within all that, like all throughout that, I was always involved in cover music, because up here in Canada, it's kind of like, Canadians love cover bands for some reason. I don't know why, but it always seems like that's maybe a Canadian cliche where we just love cover bands. So there was always a show that would happen maybe a couple times a year in my hometown, just more or less called the Cover Show or whatever. So myself and the boys, or just new friends or other people in the music scene that you'd meet just from gigging so much, you get together, you cover a band that you like, and you just have fun with it. You play it, and that's it. And maybe you do an encore set like a couple months later. So we would always do maybe one or two or sometimes even three bands every cover show, just because it was so fun just to get on stage, play music, and do all those things, and just cover so many different bands, so many different genres that maybe you wouldn't cover with your immediate group of friends, but you would meet through like all these different forums and threads. Like, hey, I'm trying to cover Blink-182. I'm trying to cover, Converge, or the Fall of Troy, and like some weird obscure bands like that. And like, where are some people that want to do this? And it's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And I want to do this. And I've met a lot of long lasting friends from, different cover shows like that. And just because, and just for anyone who's listening, like if you have the desire to try something new, or just like take a positive risk and like just try something new, like just go do it. Because I mean, if you're trying to put a band together, try to put a cover band together, and like, make that Kijiji, make that Craigslist ad, make that Facebook marketplace listing of you're trying to search for a band, and whether it's a cover band or a real band, because you never know what's going to happen. Or even just reply to that ad and just like, hey, like this is who I am, da 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 da. Because that's how my one friend Dean joined the band Archfire. Dean Lamb. I remember watching one of his videos, and I've known him and Archfire for a very long time. And even like realizing like, oh yeah, what he said to me was just, yeah, I just replied to a Craigslist ad and here I am. I'm in Archfire. And then recently they've played how many sold out shows on their last like headlining tour. Like, it's crazy seeing how far that band has gone just from a simple like, hey, I want to join your band and I'm going to reply to this Craigslist ad or this whatever ad. Like, so for anyone who's listening, watching, wherever this podcast is going to be, like, just like take that positive risk. And like, if you want to join a band, go for it. Give it a shot. Give it a whirl, right? Because the worst that happens is like, well, maybe the band just plays one show, or maybe the band just doesn't play a show, but maybe you just meet some new people out of it, and maybe you go and do something else after, or you don't, and that's totally fine too. But don't be afraid to take that positive risk, because it can be a pretty cool life of music, as what happened to my friend Dean from Archfire. And
so you're jumping around in the script there, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, a little bit there.
It's supposed to come later. So, but let's go ahead.
Yeah. But that's welcome to my life of jumping around a little bit. But yeah, more or less like within all that, and jump with cover bands, a couple original bands, eventually starting to, I eventually moved from my hometown all the way to the West Coast here, and within all of that, and meeting so many like lifelong friends like within the music scene who have just like played across Canada, and like reconnecting with them, like, hey, do you still live out here? I'm moving out here, and I don't know if you remember me, but A, B, C, and D. This is how we met each other years ago. And a lot of those people I still see on a pretty regularly basis, or talk to them on a pretty regular basis, because again, taking that positive risk. Hey, don't know if you remember me, but reconnecting, right? Just establishing that and reestablishing that sense of friendship and where you two met. So basically messaged all the people that I knew, now more or less like even better friends now, from when they toured across Canada and when my bands would open for them, and then just reconnecting with them and like, well, I'm moving to like outside of Vancouver here, and where is the best way to get into the music scene, or how's the best way to get into the music scene? Because I'm coming here with my guitars and, obviously moving for other reasons. And I also want to get into a band and do this whole thing again. So how do I do this? And who are some people I should meet? And pretty well everyone was just like, we got you covered. We'll help you get settled in, and we'll introduce you to some people as well, just to make things feel a little bit more at home. Like, that's amazing. And honestly, like, it totally turned into that, because, meeting so many people throughout this Western Canada music scene, and eventually joining the band Neck of the Woods, who I met back in my hometown when they played my hometown. My bands didn't open for them, but the band Femur, who's made up of literally my best friends, they opened for them, and I went and checked out the show, and they're like, oh yeah, we're from Vancouver, like, nice to meet you, we're Neck of the Woods, we're from Vancouver. And I'm like, you know what, these guys sound awesome. I'm gonna hit them up after, and it's like, hey, like, I'm moving out there like in a couple months, like looking to get into the scene. I'm wondering if maybe, or if you guys are able to kind of like help out in some way, or like who are some people I should talk to or anything like that. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll help you out. We can help you get settled and everything like that. And, just come hit us up and like, let's hang out when you're back. So I did that, and more or less like jumping around here just to get and condense the story a little bit. But like eventually, there was a spot that initially opened up for a bass player gig, and in Neck of the Woods. So I auditioned for that, and it just didn't work out logistically for the time. Then the pandemic hit, and then within all that, I was hanging out with Dave, who plays guitar in the band. Him and I got a little bit closer because it just turned into, oh, you're off work as well. Like, why don't you come in and like bring your bike in, bring a guitar in, let's jam and let's hang out like all day and let's just go for a bike and just try and do something. So that's what we would do. We would just, bike around and jam and write music together or just jam because he had his drum kit there as well, which was super fun. And then it turned into, I think it was January 2022. I got a text from Dave just saying like, hey, our bass player is supposed to be going on this trip that has been rebooked like so many times because it got canceled so many times because of the pandemic. So it was basically like him and his partner were either going to go on this like, exotic trip or whatever, like in the middle of summer, or they're just going to lose all their money. So they decided they're going to go on it just so they don't lose all their money and have nothing to show for losing all their money. So he was like, hey, can you do this show? I'm like, yeah, sure. Send me all the music and just give me the set list and I'll learn it. So I just started learning all that stuff back in January because even well before I joined the band, I'm like, well, it's one show. I want to do the best that I can. And what I want to do is like for that first jam that I join up with Neck of the Woods, I want to make it seem like we've all been jamming together for like 6 months and I've already been like a member of the band. You know what I mean? I don't want to hold them back or be like, oh, you had all this time to learn all this stuff. Like, what happened, man? Like, oh, now we can't rely on you, stuff like that. Like, that's just one thing you can't really do as, a musician. You can't leave people hanging like that. So within all that, then they went on tour and they came back from tour. And then it turned into, hey, can you do this other show as well? And I'm like, sure I can. Same set list? Yeah, probably the same set list. Okay, sounds good. And then we did those 2 shows and they were awesome. They were great shows. Had a great sound, great performance for everyone. And after that, I was like, hey, well, we're going to do a show at this venue at this time of the year. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then within all that, I was like, well, I like hanging out with these guys. And they've all said that they enjoy hanging out with me. And, we all collectively enjoy each other's company. And I like playing the music. So then I'm thinking like, well, it'd be nice to join the band if that is even a thing. So then we all just kind of met up like in the new year and it was like, just talking of like our goals and like what we wanted to do and like where we saw potentially myself. And I'm like, well, I want to join the band because I like doing all these things and I would like to, write music with you guys and, contribute and be on like a fill-in gig. And they're like, well, if you want that, we would want you to be in the band as well. So then that's kind of how that happened. And yeah, I guess within all that, we wrote a EP together called Luxury Trap, and that's out on all streaming services that wherever you get your music. It's on YouTube and everything like that as well. And that was like a really great experience as well. And that kind of brings us right to today, more or less. And I guess sort of today. I mean, yeah, more or less today. I guess I just kind of skipped over the YouTube and the guitar setup part and all that stuff, but we can touch on that later. I mean, just to keep things early, at least this answer a little less long-winded than it already probably is. You know what I mean?
But we did get a good short story out of it, to be honest. So
yeah, but that's more or less the musical journey in a very large nutshell.
Basically, yeah. I guess, how does it feel being like the creator of Gent? Is that how you pronounce it?
Of Gent? Yeah. I don't even think we were the creators of Gent. We were just like adopters of it and just like a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old kids that were just like, whoa, this is the new sound of metal. We want to do this because this is sick and we think it's amazing. So we wanted to do that. And it just kind of stuck with us. I mean, obviously don't really listen to a lot of that anymore, but like when I listen back to it, it's just kind of like, yeah, this is a fun little nostalgia trip of when we discovered Periphery. Like, it's fun. It's not really the stuff I gravitate towards anymore, but it's still fun whenever I listen to it.
Actually, I had interviewed Periphery's original drummer, I should say, or at least one of the drummers. I don't know how many they've gone through, but his name was Travis Orban.
Oh, you interviewed Travis. That's hilarious, because I used to watch all of his YouTube stuff with the single snare, tom, and the kick drum setup, and I always thought that guy was just such a wicked player.
Yeah, he is. Awesome dude, too. And he was also in Sky's Airplane, and I forget what the group it was, and boy, that interview seemed like a long time ago now. But shout out to Travis nonetheless.
Yeah, shout out to Travis, because what a wicked drummer.
And say, man, you also see him shirtless too. He's got the abs and everything rolling. So
yeah,
dude works out. So yeah,
that's fitness goals right there, right?
pretty much, yeah. I would say I've not been up to par yet with my little fitness, let alone New Year's resolution goals, to say the least. So
yeah,
but just want to throw that out there too, because I know I've listed actually a couple songs from Periphery itself. I know Wildfire, I think, was their most recent one, I guess.
I think that was one of their most recent bigger hits from Periphery 4.
But yeah, definitely kicks some major ass too. But
yeah,
going back to what we were saying with gent, and I guess even like some of those musical genres, it's always weird, like how the name normally forms. I guess they just pop in someone's head one day, or I guess how did gent really come about from you guys?
Yeah, I thought it was Misha just describing the sound of heavily downpicking strings on a guitar, and with like heavy noise gating as well. So then you get the like junt 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 junt. I guess an onomatopoeia of more or less like the song Soul Bleed from Meshuggah. So that song dun 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 boom 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 boom. If you listen to that, it's like that's like the perfect descriptor of gent, or like if you want to hear like a actual audio example of that, man, or even like some Fear Factory could be considered gent. You know what I mean? Even actually, and I think the biggest one for us like would probably be the intro for probably Insomnia by Periphery. Like that really like open drop C like chug pattern, like super tight noise gating, heavy, like lots of high gain guitar tones, and super heavy palm muting, like no room for the noise just to kind of go beyond like that actual attack.
I was always trying to picture too. I was trying to like visualize the sound in my mind too, but I always thought it was like just maybe them just strumming like one string, to be honest too, because I only know a little bit of bass, but I mainly use my fingers. I don't usually use like a whole lot of picks.
Yeah. Another thing too is like, I know some people are gonna think I'm just like, really pulling hairs and stretching this one, but like you listen to some early Pantera recordings, like I bet that's kind of genty. Man, you listen to the breakdown and domination, jun 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 jun. Like you listen to the guitar tone there and how it's played and how tight the gating is and like how heavy the palm muting is. Like that's pretty much gent right there. So like I don't know, just go ahead and do your homework on that. Just that is probably could be considered gent to some people, in my opinion.
I would say I don't really care what you call it. It's still a hell of a nice breakdown, to say the least.
Yeah, it's considered by some as the heaviest breakdown on earth.
Debatable, but I will give Dime his credit. And it was also recently Dime Day, which I guess was his birthday not too long ago.
Yes, it would have been his 58th birthday as of yesterday, which is August 20th.
Still gone too soon. Too soon.
You know, it's crazy to think that it's been 20 years since that night in Ohio. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 20 years. It's really hard to encapsulate all that. But yeah, it's crazy how much time has gone by.
Yeah. And I think you talked about Dime a good bit on the YouTube channel, which we will get to in a little bit. But yeah. I guess is Dime like one of your biggest influences? I guess who else kind of inspired you? I guess if we want to do top 5, I'm assuming you got a whole bunch.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking like top 5 of like when I was young, or like top 5 today?
I guess your taste did change. Tell you what, we'll make it a top 10. So pick 5 from way back in the day, and then 5, I guess, now that's kind of inspired you.
Sure. I guess top 5 back in the day would have been Dimebag, like 100% Dimebag. He's probably like the number one. When I remember first hearing like Cowboys from Hell, it was immediately like, that's what I want to do. That was like the game changing of like, oh, this is like regular like guitar playing. Then it just went up like 15 notches. So Dimebag for sure, Lexi Lyo, Jerry Cantrell. I would also want to say Mick and Jim from Slipknot, and probably Matt and Corey from Trivium. Those would probably be like the biggest guitar influences for me from a young, early on age. Then if we're talking right now, I would have to say my buddy Emil Wursler, 100% Emil Wursler. Josh Travis from Tony Danza, Glass Cloud, Amir, When Knives Go Skyward. Always love that guy's playing. It's in a league of its own. It's just insane how good he is. I also would like to say probably John Petrucci.
Michael, can't be a dream theater, yeah. So yeah.
Michael Romeo, and this might be a bit of an odd one for some people, but I do really like the actual guitar player Les Paul, like a lot. And if we want to tie him with like maybe like Brent Hines from Mastodon, like the way that guy incorporates chicken picking is something that I really aspire to as well. I mean, I studied classical guitar in university, so I have a bit of that dexterity still, even though it's a different way of like really picking. Chicken picking, I think you're using like more so like all of your fingers, whereas classical, it's you're only using like these 4 fingers, these including your thumb. So I really try and incorporate a lot of that as well, and especially like with my bass playing in Neck of the Woods or even just regular guitar playing, I really try and use like my nails or like my fingers to grab extra strings and like really like have fun when I'm playing guitar and make my musical lines a little bit more melodic and just kind of to make playing a little bit easier in some way. So instead of like, having my pick and only picking all of the notes, like, well, I'm going to pick one and maybe I'm going to hybrid pick a couple of the other ones as well.
So you guys definitely drink a good bit when you come up with the names chicken picking, to be honest. So
yeah. I mean, no idea where that one came from, but hey, we take it and we roll with it.
I mean, I guess so. It's just one of those things. It's also, I say, one of the beauty of the internet is being able to find like that sort of slang term, to be honest. So
yeah,
let's see what.
And I guess it goes without saying, if I gotta throw one more guy in. I totally forgot, and I feel bad. My buddy Wes Houck, 100%. Wes Houck is 100% an influence on my playing.
Is he part of the band Neck of the Woods, or is he with Archspire?
He plays in the band Alluvial, and he's played in the band The Faceless. He's played in Thy Art Is Murder. He's done a bunch of session work for some bands as well. He was actually on the song Mile Zero. He did that ripping guest solo for Periphery. But man, I remember when I first heard him, like, insane player, and also a fellow friend as well, but like always learning from that guy, always learned from him and Emil. Those are probably my 2 tops right now.
That guy, I know you said Alluvial too. Was he the one I was playing on Fog Belt?
Yep, he's the guitar player of Alluvial. Yeah, so yeah, he's doing Fog Belt. He's doing all the guitar work on all of their albums. I
do remember he was saying like Dime was also a huge inspiration, so you can kind of hear the noise too. It was always the wow, that whole thing. Yeah.
When the whammy drops up, and just even in his playing too, it's just like the best way to describe Wes's playing to my ears is like Dimebag and Marty Friedman, and they just kind of hung out together, and Wes Houck just kind of picked up all of the tools that they left behind, and I guess Marty didn't leave behind, and just kind of took it and ran, you know what I mean? Because that guy's playing is just such a perfect marriage of Marty and Dime's playing. It's crazy.
Or we could do the old-fashioned 1 + 1 = 2. The way we wanted to do it that way.
Yeah, Dime plus Marty equals Wes Houck, pretty much.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And I guess I know you talked about Neck of the Woods here a little bit here too. So I guess first of all, can you tell the audience what the current lineup is?
Yeah, so we got the current lineup. That is our singer Jeff on vocals, Dave who plays guitar, Ron on guitar, Paul who plays drums, and myself who is the bass player of the band. And that's more or less it. Just simple 5-piece traditional metal band. We kind of are like a progressive hardcore or progressive metalcore style of band. So it's like Misery Signals meets bands like maybe like The Ghost Inside, and with a little bit more proggy elements. We got some Dream Theater elements as well, like all the like the clean parts as well. But it's all screaming. There's no singing or anything like that. There's some hardcore moments as well. So maybe like some Title Fight, some Converge in there as well. But then like there's also little elements of like other bands as well from all the other members of the band who actually write music for the band as well. So yeah, it's super fun. If you're a fan of those bands, Misery Signals, Parkway Drive, The Ghost Inside, Converge, or maybe even a little bit of Dream Theater as well, then I would say come check us out. Maybe there's something for you within our band.
I'm gonna say I know Dream Theater always went a little heavy every now and again too, but I know they always did more of the singing than did with like any screaming or growling.
Yeah, so we had no screaming, no singing or anything like that. And our songs are not like of Dream Theater's length. We're approaching like the average of 10 minutes per song, you know what I mean, or 7 minutes. So everything's pretty digestible. Yeah, there's a little bit of everything in there for all of you who are considering on listening to our band, or maybe who have never heard of our band. So feel free to check it out. Our new EP, Luxury Trap, is on all streaming platforms. So if you're a Spotify, Apple Music, whatever your choice is, go ahead and check it out and leave us a review, or just like hit us up on Instagram or one of our socials and just let us know what you think of the music.
Yeah, it sounds good. Make sure you go check it out, people. This guy's gonna kick some major ass. But I guess real quick, who came up with the name Neck of the Woods?
I think that was Dave and Jeff years ago, well before I joined the band. Yeah, because the band's been around for just over 10 years, I'm pretty sure. So that was either one of them for sure.
I was gonna say normally Neck of the Woods is like a common phrase, I should say. So normally you would think that's more of some sort of not a metal band, I guess. I'm not too sure, but
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, that's kind of like how Nickelback got their name, if you know how that story is. But like for those of you that don't, it's basically like Mike Kroger, Chad's brother. He was working at a coffee shop and would always just say like, "Oh, use your nickel back." Every time he would be giving people change, because he would always have to give a nickel back to people. And it wasn't like, and he just like ended up bringing it to the band. It was just kind of like, yeah, like, what do you guys think? And here we are with Nickelback.
one of those epiphany sort of moments right there. The Angels blessed you with the name.
Yeah, exactly. I think it might have been something like that for Neck of the Woods, but I'll touch base with the guys and I'll let you know. But I feel like it just kind of rolls off the tongue, and it's like an expression that a lot of people kind of know. And it's like, why don't we just call the band that? I think. I could be wrong.
Either or, still good name nonetheless here too. But
Thanks.
I guess send me an email about it here too, but maybe I'll probably post it on socials, but we'll see what happens. So thanks for sharing. All right. So the next one here talks about COVID here too, but I think this also ties in with the YouTube channel. So let's kind of mold these two questions together here too. So before we jump into it, I guess, were you in Vancouver when COVID had hit?
Yeah. So I was kind of fortunate to be in there because, it was springtime and, it wasn't raining crazy, or the weather wasn't shifting too terribly, but it was pretty nice in terms of the actual weather. So I was actually able to kind of get outside and do things despite the state of the world as of like March to August of 2020. It was pretty hectic. There was not a lot of clarity for the most part in what people were really doing. It was just more or less like you can't do much of anything. So I had a lot of time off since work really wasn't a thing. So again, that's how Dave and I kind of got linked up to each other. But regarding the whole YouTube thing, that really started back in 2019. So 2019, I went to NAMM, the big music convention in Anaheim, California. So I went with some of the guys from Neck of the Woods, and then we linked up with our other buddies who also happened to be Andrew Baina, Johnny Chardulo. And then it was just like, oh man, going with and hanging out with Andrew Baina all weekend, like that's pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, I watch his stuff every now and then. His stuff's pretty awesome. So then, we all hang out, going to the airport. It's like 6 a.m, and it's like, hey man, nice to meet you. And you're like, oh yeah, nice to meet you too. And it's like, all right, we'll hang later when we both are awake or whatever. And we became friends like that. Then had a great weekend together, with all of the crew hanging out with each other. Met a lot of lifelong friends from that exact trip. Then after that, I just kind of hit up Andrew and I was like, hey man, like I play guitar as well, and I also fix guitars. So like it'd be awesome to do a video with you at some point. Like I can drive out to you, whatever. I know how to record as well. We can make it easy. He's like, yeah, sure. So then we actually did a video we just did a cover for the song Torch by Amir. And just because it was a song we both liked, and we just threw it up and just was like, yeah, whatever, see what happens. And within that time, like, we were going back and forth, and he was like, yeah, you could probably like make your own videos too. I'm like, is it that hard? He's like, well, do you got a phone? I'm like, well, yeah, I have a phone. That's how we're communicating. It's like, well, do you have lighting? I'm like, well, I got some like bedroom lamps. It's like, we'll just angle them at you. It's like, get a phone stand and just film a video. I'm like, and he's like, you know how to record guitars, so like you could probably figure it out. And that's the rest is more or less history within that. So I do owe a lot to Andrew for kind of kicking me into gear and like giving me the confidence and reassurance that like yeah, it's just don't overthink it. Like you can just do it. Like just go do it. So getting back to pandemic, within all that time, I've been doing YouTube videos because but not at the scale that I'm doing it now. It was kind of once every 2-3 weeks or every second month or whatever. But then it just turned into, it's like, this was fun. Then like people engage with you, you comment on them, you build a bit of a community. It's like, yeah, I like doing this. This is fun. And then it turned into, pandemic hits, and I'm like, well, work doesn't really exist. So guess I'll do more YouTube videos just to pass the time. I got to do something. Guess I'll scroll Kijiji more and then just start buying more guitars too. So that's a whole other thing too. But within all that, it was like turning into a video kind of every week, or at least every second week, because it was so easy just to record music. And I had, had Superior Drummer, recorded bass, record all of my guitars, had all the different plugins and software, and just learn how to mix, learn how to master, right? And learn how to do all the video editing and production and kind of make videos and make them quicker and more efficiently. Then it was like, wow, this is like kind of fun. And I didn't realize like how kind of straightforward this was for the most part. It's time consuming. Don't get me wrong. It's very time consuming at times. And I don't want that to sound like I'm complaining or anything, or like I dislike what I do. It's just, there's a lot of effort and time that goes into this, and maybe a lot of people would not be considering if they are trying to maybe get into this or like and starting all this. So within all that, like realizing like that, okay, well, I can do this, and like, well, I finished a video in an afternoon. Okay, well, tomorrow's going to be like the Groundhog Day, where it's going to be the exact same day over and over and over again, because we can't really do much. So I'm like, well, let's learn a song and record it and see what happens. Because I was just doing that for the most part, because I just didn't really like talking on camera for the most part. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do some covers and let's maybe grow an audience this way. And then one of the ones that really took off during the pandemic was my cover for the Pantera song "Mouth for War." Within all that time, like I had still have like the Amplitude Cowboys from Hell Dimebag suite. So it's basically like Dimebag's tone in a plugin. For the most part, it sounds pretty dang identical to it. And with that, like, and like going and like, being bored on Craigslist or whatever. And I remember finding a Washburn Culprit, which is like a super rare guitar. And that's a Dimebag signature guitar when he was with Washburn. And it was the red one, and the red ones never show up. It was a good price. Then I was like, you know what? Hey, like message the guy like, hey, will you ship this without the amp? Yes, of course I will. Thinking, okay, I guess I just scored a guitar I've wanted for a very long time. And at that point, I've only had like one dime guitar, which is like my 333, which is like the import model. And this was another import model. But the culprits just never showed up because they were just not rare and they were never advertised. And there was no marking on the guitar that said like Dimebag Darrell signature guitar or anything like that. It was just like, throw them in the wild and let's just see what happens. So I got it, and there was a lot of people that were like, whoa, I haven't seen this guitar in a long time. Oh my God, I used to have one of these. I remember I saw this guitar. I didn't realize there were that many of them. And I'm thinking, I know they were rare, but like, oh, there's like, then I'll start replying to all these comments, and like, there's people like who are interested in like, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, this is fun. And, like build some internet friends from there. Like, this is kind of neat. So then it started like, okay, well, what other songs can I learn and record, and or even start writing, and like, get some other gear and start like demoing it. And like, this is what this amp sounds like in a mix. This is, this is a song I wrote using this guitar or this amp because it's, the pandemic and there's not a lot going on. So it's just a time to hunker down and play guitar and get really good at guitar as well. So within that, it then turned into like just doing way more YouTube videos, and eventually just like taking on like new approaches to YouTube. So instead of covers, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take a look at this guitar and I'm going to fix it. Again, I owe that to Andrew, because even he was like, you should be like filming the process of you fixing guitars. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, isn't that kind of boring? He's like, nah, man, like you'd be surprised. People want to see that. And here we are. People still enjoy watching this. Or it's like, hey, I noticed this crazy thing about this guitar. Is there anyone else that has noticed this thing about this guitar as well? And it's like, yeah, I've had this issue on my guitar as well. I'm like, oh, okay, well, sweet. Guess I'm not alone in this. So again, building a community, like, well, let's try and fix this guitar together. I found a solution to how to fix this guitar. I'm going to pass it on to you because YouTube's a free thing. And it's like, well, if we can all build a community and help each other, fix a guitar, or like learn how to set the action, the intonation, or whatever it is on a guitar, maybe this could be a fun place to do it all and just kind of learn from each other. So even then, it really turned into that. And there's a lot of people who like all that stuff, people who like watching other people mod guitars. And then it turned into, getting, more Dimebag guitar and not realizing that there was this crazy fan base for these Dimebag guitars. So it wasn't just like me in my basement at 13 and then growing up and then having an adult job, being able to afford some of these guitars, where I'm like, oh, there's a whole community of people who love these things too. Sweet, let's all hang out, let's talk about it. Or there's a lot of people who are like, man, I love all these Dimebag guitars, I just don't have any, I don't know where to get them, or I had them and I got rid of them, and like what you do is so sick and everything like that. It's like, that's the stuff that I do and like what makes me keep going, to be totally honest. And regardless of like what YouTube does for me in terms of like subscriber count and like view count, it's just like reading those comments of like people interacting and just like, wow, this is so sick, and like getting some sort of like validation, like building some community from that, like that's the fun part of it. And even though like I'm sure people know that like once you get to a certain like threshold of YouTube credentials, like you do get some sort of ad revenue, or you can sign up to have like the channel like membership and things like that, so people can pay you, or like you get ad revenue from YouTube. So regardless of how much that pays you, like if you are doing it and you love it, like you're, I'm going to use air quotes again, but like you're never going to work a day in your life, as cliche as it might sound. But if you love what you do, then you enjoy it, right? Then it doesn't really feel like work, even though there are days where it might be stressful, but you still love what you do, right? And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, there are moments where it's like, oh, I got deadlines. I have my own deadlines on myself that I want to make for these videos. I want to get these out at a certain time. I got to get this guitar fixed for this customer, and I want to make sure it's done well, and I got to edit this video in a certain way, right? But sure, those can be stressful, but it's the people that you engage with and interact with, and like that's the most rewarding thing at the end of the day, when people are just like, oh yeah, I've learned something from this, and it's like, sweet, my knowledge has been passed on to someone and they've learned from it, and they can take it and run, and hopefully they can fix their guitar, or hopefully they can, set up their tone to sound like Zach Wilde or Dimebag or whoever, right? And it's just passing on knowledge and hoping someone that is able to kind of take it and run and do something positive with it.
Yeah. I can see why. And actually, I was kind of the same way in terms of starting a YouTube channel, because it happened right during the pandemic. I think it was like 2021.
Yeah.
And I initially started doing drum covers, and I figured, it's probably worth a shot. And wasn't really going anywhere because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Eventually, I got to like doing podcasting, where I was like, you know what? I've been reading this podcasting thing. It seems interesting. Let's see what I can do. And sure enough, one of them happens to be a friend of mine I went to college with, who's now part of like this big country music group now. So,
cool.
So he kicked some ass, but I mean, the rest is history afterwards, and here we are.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
And I guess real quick, did you have any brushes with COVID? Did you or any of your bandmates get real sick?
I know I got sick at one point. I think that was a combination of, obviously getting sick and just like kind of exhaustion, and like really like doubling down and like trying to get like certain videos out at certain timelines. So I remember when I was doing like the it was December 2022, I'm pretty sure, is when I got pretty sick. And it was right around like the anniversary of Dimebag's passing. I remember releasing a video earlier in the week. It was like the Washburn like trend kill, like the camouflage Washburn that they had out for a couple of years. And it was just like, oh, it was just like the rarest one. But I'm like, I got to get this guitar out, and I got to get this video out on, it's a rare guitar, and upload it. Then I'm like, oh, and then I'm also like having to do like this whole Dimebag rig video. And like, but I'm like, I want to get this video up for the actual day, just so it is like, it lines up with the day. And like, this is like my tribute to him, and there's nothing wrong with like doing covers or whatever. And obviously, however you want to celebrate Dime's legacy, do it in the way that you want to do, because at the end of the day, you're still celebrating his legacy. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something a little bit different, just for myself, because like I can do a cover like I did before, but I'm like, well, what's going to excite me to keep doing this whole thing, and like just to try something different? Like, here is Dimebag's rig fully recreated. And there were a lot of people that were like, oh my God, I can't believe that you have the whole rig. And I got to say, like, I borrowed it from my one buddy Ryan, who has collected all the gear, and I even pretty sure I said in the video, I'm like, this stuff is just, you don't go walk into a music store and you find all this stuff, because even my buddy, he got his stuff from all over the world, because this gear is just so rare. It's hard to find. It's older, it's vintage, so like you hope it works when you get it. And all of his stuff was like killer, and it's like in great shape as well. But like it's just hard to find. So like it wasn't like an overnight thing trying to find it, as much as it looked like an overnight thing. So put it all together, made it look pretty deadly. Walked through what everything does, and everyone in the comment, and like I guess the video was just pretty well received, which was a positive thing for me. And just like, wow, again, I tried something new. Getting back to a bit of an earlier thing, took a positive risk, and like, let's just see what happens, instead of maybe doing a guitar cover of, to celebrate Dime's legacy. And it's like, wow, this is kind of cool, and maybe I'll try something like that again in the future, instead of, just a guitar cover. And again, nothing wrong with doing covers or however you want to celebrate Dime, but I'm like, try something different. Let's just see what happens. And regardless of if it was the anniversary of Dime's passing or his birthday or whatever day of the year it would have been, I was going to do that video regardless, and it was a matter of like, I think I want to do it on this day. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool to have that experience and do that.
Funny enough, before we actually jumped on this interview, they actually played Pantera's War Nerve on the Great Southern Treadkill on the radio before coming in here.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
So, needless to say, he probably overheard us probably actually going to be talking about him a good bit here too. So, I mean,
it was just Dime Day the other day, you know what I mean? So
yeah, may rest in peace.
I pay our respects to the man.
Absolutely. And I guess just real quick, are you on any other social media at the moment? I guess I know you mentioned about the streaming platforms, but I guess just social media in general. I guess what social media are you on?
Yeah, I'm on all the social medias for the most part. Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. That's more or less it. Like the ones where I'm like gonna really interact with everyone, right? I mean, I'm on Facebook as well, but like I'm not really. Yeah, I'm just I'm on Facebook or whatever, but like it is what it is. It's just another place just to kind of post and interact and hang out. But the main ones are like Instagram and in Threads and YouTube for the most part.
I don't really understand Threads too much. I know it's just a variant of what, Instagram. So I guess what
I think
Threads.
Yeah, it's kind of like Twitter X, but it's ran by Meta. I don't know. It's just another platform to engage with people. I mean, I don't really have any qualms about it. I know it was extremely popular for a hot minute, but yeah, I don't know. Don't really know where it is right now.
All right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. And
but yeah, sorry, just to, I guess, tie off on that last pandemic question there. Like, but yes, like, I guess within all of that, like that very extremely long-winded answer, but yeah, like that's when I eventually got sick. And obviously I knew everyone else in the band that kind of got sick, but yeah, that timeline again that was a rough one, because it was right around the holidays, overworking, tired, not sleeping, and just staying up way too late just to meet my own deadlines, and just got burnt out a little and got physically, sick, but it is what it is. What can you do?
I was kind of the same way, because I actually got sick in around like October going into November of 2022, because me and my family, we actually went down to Nashville, which is Country Music Hall of Fame Central, as you probably know. So we bar hopping on Broadway, you can probably guess what happens. So even though the vacation was totally worth it. So
yeah. Oh, I bet. Can only imagine how wonderful Nashville is. I got a few buddies there who keep bugging me to come visit, and one of these days I'll get down there.
It's a good city. I'd say it's quite easy to find Broadway once you at least know the layout. So you'll be all good. Yeah. And just real quick, it's good to see you and the band are doing well, they're made. So it's good to have you guys around here for the ride.
It's great to see that, your podcast is doing well as well. And like, you have so many different guests like coming up in the future as well. And you have a nice plethora of guests that you've interviewed and like worked with in the past as well. That's awesome.
It helps when you have a good number of bands as well, let alone musicians. So
yeah, no, for sure.
And well, these next two questions are still tying with COVID a little bit here too. But I think when I was checking out YouTube channel, at least what the description was saying, do you also do music teaching?
Yeah, I do lessons every now and then. I'm pretty selective with the amount of lessons that I'm taking on. Just because like I have other. I shouldn't say. I'm gonna rephrase that. But yeah, I do take lessons every now and then. But the way that I want to do lessons for anyone who is interested is, I want to do like a 1 hour lesson, and then I'll see it in like a couple weeks. So I'll give you your 1 hour lesson. Then I'm going to front load you with a ton of stuff. There's probably going to be some playing within the lesson as well to get you like comfortable of like what we're going to go over and why we do the things and why I'm teaching you the things that I'm teaching you. But then do that. And especially if you are like a player who is able to kind of run with this on their own, then hit me up in like 2 or 3 weeks and let's see where you're at from there. And let's just see how we can kind of develop from there. Just with my schedule right now, I don't have the ability and maybe the capacity to kind of like take on weekly lessons of like, okay, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and then we're just going to go week. I just don't have the capacity for that right now. If I had a bit more time, I would maybe consider opening up my schedule for that. But within everything that I'm doing, I just don't want to shortchange myself and the student for not being able to commit to lessons on a weekly basis when I have other things that come up, like taking on guitars, doing videos, and obviously writing with my band, writing for my own stuff as well. And again, just don't want to shortchange anyone that is asking me to, is paying me a service for their time, right? And to teach them lessons. So
I guess, do you do it both online and in person, or do you try to maybe just do one or the other?
Just online right now. I mean, my place isn't really set up to have like an actual like working music studio, like for like to host like and do lessons and everything like that. It's just a little too small. But I also think it would be nice if I had my own like place like outside of my place to kind of separate all of that. But maybe down the road. But for now, everything's online. It's nice. I can screen share with students as well. And like, hey, this is like the tab that we're both looking at on Guitar Pro. Zoom in on your phone, zoom in on whatever it is. I'll zoom in on my screen so then you can see it. And this is how it sounds. I'm going to highlight the section. I'm going to loop it. I'm going to slow it down. This is how this particular section of music sounds. And they're like, oh, now I can totally hear it. Now I can hear the guitar isolated from everything, rather than like maybe how you and I would learn music back in the day where it's like, okay, well, what's this guitar player doing? Like, I don't know. Well, here's a Guitar Pro tab and someone tabbed it out, or I tabbed it out because I listened to it and transcribed it. Or thankfully for AI, I'm going to separate the guitar parts and hear the guitar on its own. Like all these wonderful tools that make the learning process much more easier. So I find that helps a lot. Being able to share that with students too. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't have Guitar Pro, consider getting it because it'll make learning music like really easy for you. And hey, there's a lot of these free online AI music separation tools as well. So if you're trying to learn a song and you want to get good at ear training, plug the song that you want into that and separate all the different guitar parts as well. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, where was that when I was young? That would have been so awesome. You know what I mean? Just to learn, even like as a drummer too, like, because I guess like depending on the mix of the music, sure, the drums will stand out, but it's like, well, what is this kick pattern? Because there's so much going on, right? I'm going to isolate the drum part. I'm going to slow it down. Like, oh, this is the kick pattern, right? Oh, this is the transcription sheet music. I'm going to speed it up and slow it down and just loop it and learn the part, right? Small things like that. Like, if only that was like available, let's say 20 years ago.
I was like, where were you at when I needed you the most?
I know, right? Like,
it's funny when we mentioned about like slowing the song down, because I know a friend of mine was actually doing that with like, it was a Metallica song. Yeah, it was The Short Straw. I think he just slowed it down a little bit so he knew how the drum pattern actually worked out. So
exactly, right?
I would say it probably would be nice, since and I don't know why I'm doing this because I must be crazy, but I think for next year, some of my drum covers, I'm actually going to do Dark Angels, Darkness Descends.
Oh, nice. I don't think I've heard that one, but I mean, if it's Gene Hoglan, I can only imagine how wild it must be.
Because I just listened to the burning of Sodom, and you're probably not going to be fine. I'll just be like, what are you doing? So,
well, if it's anything with Gene Hoglan behind the kit, I can only imagine how crazy it is.
Yeah, that's for sure. So
that's my favorite.
Wish me luck. So
yeah, crossing my fingers for you. You got this.
Yeah, I'm sure I do. I just got to listen to it a few times, and that was kind of the same way it was with me trying to learn like Dave Lombardo's, because I actually did like all the entirety of Hell Awaits.
Oh, nice.
I got that, not like in one sitting, but like individual drum covers, and I just brought all those drum covers together. So.
Okay, so I want to turn this on you for a sec. So now, as a drummer, I know I'm kind of hijacking your interview, but like as a drummer, I'm like a mediocre drummer, but like, do you go note for note, or do you put your own flair on it when you're learning?
I was gonna say it comes later, but I was gonna say stick to the script. But
yeah.
to answer your question, I normally try to do it note for note, unless it's like maybe one of those like real tough like drum fills, for instance, because I know we're talking about Gene Hoglan. I'm listening to like a couple of his songs here, and one of the songs was "Perishing in Flames." I don't know what he's doing in a specific spot during the chorus. It sounded like he's saying a lot of like the toms, like some filler, like I don't know. It's just really strange, and I'm just thinking maybe I should just try to improvise it. As long as I keep the beats, then we're okay. So
yeah, I just didn't know if it was. Yeah, just wanted to get your take on that.
I'd say improvise or do something completely different as a last resort.
Yeah, for sure.
Leave it at that. But it's all good. It's all good. So as I said, wish me luck. We'll see what happens. So needless to say, my arms were still burning from last night because I was just testing out a couple of those songs. So
yeah.
Right. But I guess speaking of the gear that you have too, I guess what's the primary gear that you use when you're in neck of the woods, and I guess really any other gear you want to elaborate on, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I'll go over the neck of the woods bass gear. So I just play Dingwall basses. I have a Combustion 4-string, and then I got the Combustion Nolly 5-string. The 4-string is a 3 pickup that has the EMG preamp, and the 5-string obviously has the dark glass because that's the Nolly model, and that just has 2 pickups. And both of those go into a bit of a weird rig. It's a pedal board rig. So all the pedals is basically like that's where my tone is. So it goes into a tuner, then it goes into an MXR bass compressor. Then just to tighten up, especially for that low end on the 5th string, like because we tuned a drop C on the bass and the guitars, but then on the 5-string I go to a low G as well on that 5th string. So when I play that 5th string, whether it's open or it's fretted, like I want that low end to not fully shake the room and not fully overpower the other notes. So I really want to keep it level just so it isn't like this weird separation of note timbres between the strings, just so everything's pretty even. So the lows and the highs are where they should be. Then that goes into a bass wah, which is probably my favorite pedal on that entire board. It's just so fun to use, especially that's just like the regular Dunlop bass wah. So sick. Then out of that, it goes into, I think it goes into my phaser. Then it goes into an MXR, mini phaser. Then we go into a noise gate. Then I think in the loop of the noise gate is the Dark Glass B7K. Then we go out of that. That's like the main amp tone. That's the preamp. So out of the Dark Glass, we go into the MXR bass chorus, which is another pedal that I love so much. I love chorus. I mean, for all the guitar players out there, like chorus on a guitar tone is just like, it's so good in my opinion. Even if it's there a little subtly, it widens the guitars up a little bit. It doesn't have to be super lush and in your face, even though I do like it lush and in your face, especially on a clean side. But you get that little bit of stereo separation with a chorus pedal, and man, it's just really opens up your guitar tone. So I do like that on bass, especially for some nicer passages as well, because we do have some nicer passages in the music. So spice up the clean tone a little bit and just add a little bit of depth and dynamic to it. And then I am going to be adding a delay pedal as well into the bass rig, just for some fun parts, just for some swells, and just to give a bit more ambience as well. Then all of that goes into a Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700. So that's kind of like the volume of it, more or less. I used to run a different rig, but then it was just kind of too complex for what it was. And the whole point of like making a pedal board rig was the fact that if something dies, I can go to, in Canada, Long and McQuaid or America Guitar Center, whatever music store it is, or I can just call up my rep at MXR and say, hey, I need something. Can you fire this over to me? I'm like, yep, we got it. So I can do all those things, and I can be on the road ready to go. Or I can just hit up Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Kijiji, whatever it is, and it's like, I need this right now, and I'm in this city. Hey, I need a run-of-the-mill, MXR phaser. I need a Boss tuner or something like that, and I can probably find it. It's not like I'm running a lot of these niche pedals that are like, oh, like where can I find like this cattle inbred or this, what is it, the Dr. Science or whatever, like, or a way or or a JHS or something a little bit more boutique, where it's going to be harder to find on the used market, especially if that pedal dies and you need to get that pedal for that signature sound. So I really want to keep things as simple as possible for the what if moments. And again, pedal doesn't work, pull it out of the signal chain, put it back in with a new one, or just cut it out of the signal chain, splice place the cable to the next pedal, make it work, you're good to go. And all of that just into a loud power amp, and that's the sound, honestly.
It's a nice. I would say nice and simple, but it sounds a lot more complicated than I guess the way I probably described it. To be honest.
Yeah, I probably over described it, but like I used to run like a big modeling unit, and I remember hearing horror stories of those things flying, and you just throw them in the garbage more or less once they do die. Whereas I'm like, okay, well, I just don't want that to happen to me, and like, what's my backup plan? Like, well, I guess my backup plan is just stomp boxes. Then I just thought, why is that not my main rig? And I also kind of did it to prove a point that like you don't need a giant like traditional Ampeg SVT 300 bass amp, and like the thing weighs 150 pounds, and like you break your back trying to move it, right? Or you need to actually maintain your gym membership just to lift the thing, right? So it was like, well, how can I make a really light rig but also a really loud rig? So 700 watt power amp that can run stereo if I really needed to, and I'm also going to have a pedal board that weighs maybe 10 pounds at the very most. So it's like, well, that just kind of makes sense to me, especially in the modern day age where pedals sound pretty deadly. So I'm like, well, let's just do this and let's see what happens. And I love it. It's awesome. But again, nothing wrong if you want to run the old school traditional bass amp setup or the old guitar amp setup. It's nothing wrong with that, whatever works for you. But for me, this is what works for me, and it sounds awesome.
Fair enough. But yeah, you're also right about technology being a lot more prevalent these days than it was like way back in the day. So
yeah.
Let's see what.
Yeah, the components and just like the way that gear is made now is just, some of it is similar, but like just the standards are way better. And like literally like a dark glass preamp is now considered like a fantastic bass tone. You know what I mean? Like, you can get them for like $150 on the used market. And that is the gold standard for metal bass tone, is a dingwall into a dark glass into whatever amp. That's like, well, sounds like the amp is just there for volume. So why don't I just get a clean power amp and just run pedals and just make it easy, keep it simple.
I was gonna say, because I know one of my coworkers uses the word "kiss," kind of like breaking it up. It's like keep it short and simple. So yeah.
Or I know I would always hear "keep it stupid simple."
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. So. Or that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But good choices there nonetheless. And real quick, okay, so what brand are your picks? Do you use a specific kind, or do you tend to mix around with a good bunch?
I'm using Dunlop picks right now. Mainly a Jazz 3 guy. I've been using those for a long time. Either the regular red ones. I like the Max grips, using the Petrucci's as well. I just kind of started messing with Swiss picks as well. My buddy, he plays guitar in Unleash the Archers, and I was doing some work for them a little while back. And he gave me a couple picks, and I've been liking those as well. Those are cool, but primarily just doing all the Dunlop picks. And for bass, I kind of mess with the picks a little bit more, just because I do notice the sound changes a little bit, whether it is like an 88, 73, or like a 1 millimeter or even thicker gauge pick. They do change the sound a little bit of the way you play and like the way that the sound comes through the amp and everything. So I like to experiment with that a little bit, but as long as it's kind of like a grippy pick in some way and like it feels good to me, I'm kind of happy. But for guitar, it's mainly just like the Jazz standard picks, Jazz 3s, or any sort of like sharp pick for the most part.
You say you had a friend in Unleash the Archers?
Yeah, I did my friend Grant, he's the guitar player of the band, and I actually was his guitar tech, and for their hometown show in Vancouver a couple months back. And they actually just played Vakken, I think, a few weeks ago when Vakken was happening. And it was crazy seeing, like, especially how far that band has gone from when they first started, and now, like, befriending them. And I work on all of Grant's guitars. And I was working on, like, some of Nick's basses at that show as well. And within all that, it was just like, wow, this band is taking off like crazy. And it's cool to, consider them and, like, and, like, see them as friends as well, outside of, like, being very talented musicians and very successful musicians as well.
I've been hearing the song "Ghost in the Mist."
That song is so good. Like, the chorus in that is just such a great sing-along part. But, like, just the way that band writes music is so good. I love it.
So yeah, they're incorporating like humans and androids now. So it's an interesting Metropolis sort of concept. So it's almost kind of intertwining that dream theater sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love it.
Yep. Well, I wish them all the best luck going forward there.
definitely go see them if they are ever playing. I think they're playing the East Coast of the United States. I think this fall they're playing. Definitely go see them if you can.
I'd say I got Green Day, and then I got the whole thing of Megadeth that has All That Remains. And this is all in September. And then I got Iron Maiden that's coming in November.
Oh, nice. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. I know the Prime, but you know what? Just the fact that you get to see them too and be like, damn, those guys were legendary, and I got to see the legends.
I mean, I feel like I should go see them next time they're in Vancouver. I actually wanted to go see Rolling Stones when they were in Vancouver because I'm like, you know what? When's the next time I'm gonna go see Rolling Stones? Like, and just to say you saw it, but I'm like, like, am I gonna enjoy it? Maybe. I don't know any of the songs outside of like Paint It Black. Like, but I don't know. It's just to say that you saw Rolling Stones. That might have been cool.
I'd say at least no Sympathy for the Devil because they play that one a good bit too.
Iron Maiden.
No, Rolling Stones.
I'm not a aficionado with their discography. That's for sure.
I was gonna say they definitely did No Shelter. That was another big hit of theirs, so I would have thought you'd known that one.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this might sound really bad, but like even when I was young, like, and even whenever I go back east and like, I'm just hanging out and like listening to like the regular radio, like with my parents or whatever, it's like the same playlist that I've heard since I was like young enough to like form a consciousness of noticing like, oh, this is what's on the radio, and probably what was on the radio when they were in their 30s or in their 20s, right? Like, it's like not a lot of that has changed. Like the only new stuff is like maybe whatever new Canadian band comes up, where it's like maybe the new Nickelback song. And hey, I'm all for Nickelback. I love them, but like, you're just gonna play the hits and like nothing else. Like it's the same 4 AC/DC songs. So, I mean, I might sound a little under the rock, or like I live under a rock in terms of like that, but like a lot of like those older bands, like AC/DC, Stones, and even some Rush, until I did my own real homework on Rush, like it was kind of like whatever's on the radio, and it was like, well, I just don't want to listen to this. And yeah, even back then, like streaming didn't exist, and like I really gravitated towards metal, so I never really went down the rabbit hole and like listened to, the Stones, AC/DC, and like a lot of the older bands that maybe our parents grew up with, as much as maybe I should have to get that foundation baseline or whatever for music, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't really know the Stones too well because I just never was interested in, because I didn't really like what was on the radio too much.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I forgot to ask this question here too. I was at the time with COVID here too, but I guess how's the music scene been? I guess since you're more in the suburbs of Vancouver, I guess tell me how it's been in and around Vancouver, and I guess other parts of Canada if you want to elaborate on those.
I can't really speak for the other parts of Canada. I can maybe assume that we were all feeling the collective tiredness and just like ready to kind of get back at it, and just like we all want to play music, we all want to create art, and we all want to see our friends in like the same venue and like be together and all of that. And yeah, I obviously wanted that as well. I can't speak for everyone individually, but I know the music's like across Canada, but the music scene in Vancouver, like obviously it shut down. And I think it wasn't until maybe October, if not November, where some venues started opening up again. And then it turned into, okay, limited capacity. Do you have these checkbox, or do you have these boxes potentially checked off? And for operating at the venue, and for the patrons and everything like that. And can we do all of this stuff? And it's like, well, okay, well, I guess we're going to sit down and at our table, got to have your mask on. And, the only time you can, take it down is when you have to, go outside for a smoke, or, when you're inside and you're having a beer or having a beverage or whatever. And then I think a lot of, and the capacity was limited to, yeah, you could only sit down, and they could fill certain venues almost to the brim, but it was like seating only. You never sure everyone would stand, but there was no moshing or anything like that. And yeah, so I think a lot of us like, okay, like we were able to maybe have some shows, but like we weren't able to like fully experience like traditional shows. So it was even weird like going back to shows when things sort of kind of got to a little bit more normalcy. And it was like, oh, we don't have to wear masks. Oh, we don't need to, fill out this this checklist before we enter. Like the venue doesn't have to fill out a checklist before they let people in. And like it was just kind of interesting that like, going to shows all through the pandemic was different. Then it was kind of normal. Then it was kind of nice because it was like, oh, like I guess like we're all just kind of being a little bit more well, and like not spreading germs and not thinking about like coughing where you're gonna cough, and like we're always washing our hands and things like that. But I guess it was like a little bit more like, I know a lot of people, they were a little bit more hasty and like just ready to get back to normal. Obviously people are going to have their views, whatever they will view on the whole situation. But yeah, I know there's a lot of people just who were ready just to kind of go back to how things used to be for the music scene, and just like go to shows and mosh and crowd surf and stage dive and things like that, and do all the things, hug their friends, and like have a fully packed venue then that you can like play to, and have that sense of like, wow, we are back, and like we're doing the thing that we used to do. So yeah, I would say it's some things like that for sure. But I know some venues definitely closed, I'm pretty sure, through the pandemic. Some venues got some major renovations through like some pandemic grants from the government, which was pretty deadly as well. So a lot of venues, new sound systems, and a lot of them sound way better than they ever have before. And they got more funding just to keep the lights on and operate in some sort of capacity, which was awesome. Because if those venues closed, that might have turned into setting a precedent for a lot of other venues to close as well, since as we've seen just in general, because the cost of living and the cost of renting and leasing the buildings is just so, and leasing storefront space is just so expensive, where if we're not generating revenue as a business, and we might have to close doors. And that just is what happened to a lot of these arts-based facilities, whether they're venues or galleries or things like that. It was tough for the arts for sure, as it was tough for a lot of other industries as well. And I do want to acknowledge that it was tough for everyone regardless. I mean, it was great for some people. I could say it was, probably good for some creators as well, who were maybe able to kind of like catapult their careers, or some bands were able to catapult and like really like jump in even further with their band because they had so much time to create and like be artists. But it was also tough for a lot of us in general, for just for so many reasons of basic reasons of just human connectivity, right?
Yeah, that would have been the funniest thing I ever heard. Was actually of Australia. It was actually one of the guys from Celestial Burial, and I think he told me that like they weren't allowed to like do like moshing, like what you were saying there. It seemed like they put these people like in their individual like squares, so it was always like 6 feet apart. So I'm always like, trying to picture that. You can't do mosh pits, can't do any crowd surfing, probably can't do a whole lot of jumping, kicking, and doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, that would not fly in the States. It would not fly in the States.
No, not at all. I mean, if somehow like all that hardcore dancing and slam dancing, like it flies in Canada, I'm just like not a fan.
Let's say we turn into our makeshift DDR.
Yeah, it's like, you're gonna like start doing spin kicks in the mosh. Like, I don't know, go learn martial arts and like break a board or something, please. If you're gonna throw your foot that high, like come on.
Do a little Karate Kid action right there. You're gonna nail Cobra Kai right in the balls.
Come on, Danielson.
Yeah. All right. But good to see you guys are doing well though too. And I would say yours is probably more the happiest one, because in a lot of places, mainly like in places like New York and Florida, which have been known as like the meccas of like heavy metal, for instance.
Oh yeah.
Those cities, they've really taken a step back. I guess it's really because people like lost touch, because unfortunately it ties in with that streaming and that whole thing with like Lars with Napster.
Yeah.
Prince saying this about streaming. They ended up being right. So unfortunately, that's the one thing you don't want to mention. Yeah.
As much as people love to hate on them, they were right. They were right about streaming the entire time.
Yeah.
And I bet Lars is just laughing at all of us. I told you.
I guess so, but he's giving it to himself, or he's not really showing it. Actually, it looks kind of pretty. I don't say shriveled, but it looks like he's kind of get up there in years, the way some of his recent pictures have been looking.
Yeah, I mean, those guys in Metallica, I know James, I think James turned 61 this year. Because I saw him last year on his birthday in Jersey, and I think that was when he turned 60, I'm pretty sure. It's like they are getting, they're aging for sure. I mean, even Hetfield went on record and was even like, I don't know how long we can do this for. Like, we're just getting so much older. Like, what's our actual physical, like, abilities to play music? And he was pretty open about that. And, like, I really condemn him for maybe condemn isn't the right word. I really like, hats off to him and like praise him for like being so vulnerable.
Was I appreciate.
Appreciate, that's the right word I'm looking for. Appreciate him being so vulnerable and open about that, because it's like, yeah, it's a real thing, especially when artists like ourselves are probably so hard on ourselves for just basic things of like, oh, I didn't play this part right. Oh, I didn't do this well. Oh, I messed this up live. Then it's like, then you throw age into a factor and you're like, how long can I do this for? How long can I be down picking Master of Puppets at 210 BPM for at my current age of 60, right? And like, how long before it's just like I develop like crazy arthritis or tendonitis, right? Where I just can't play. Like, that's scary. And I can only imagine like how scary that must be for him as an artist who's, vocalizing those thoughts and those feelings. Like, that's tough. That is really hard. So, but I mean, it's just like he's opening up the door just to like say, hey, like, this is real. Like, and, I'm a human as well, which is, very admirable.
Yeah, hats off to him too. And also a shout out to a fellow Canadian, actually, who's actually in the middle. I think he lived in Saskatchewan. I'm not too sure, but Mark Young is his name. And he's been going to all these adult concerts. He started like in Massachusetts, worked his way to Chicago. I think he's back. I think he went to Winnipeg or something. I'm not too sure, but he ended up back in Saskatchewan. So
nice. He's a lifer. I like it.
Hey, he's following on their trail, I guess, or at least as far as he's willing to go.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's go to Saul Pantera. He got Zach Wild to give him a selfie too.
Oh, he did? Nice.
Oh yeah, that's so badass.
I think I know of Mark Young. I don't know him personally. I think I might have seen him on Instagram a few times. Can't remember what his handle is unless I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. That's cool though that you know him.
Well, he's the fellow drummer, and actually I always call him like the Jack Black because he had like that thick beard.
Yeah.
Kind of a little bit of stature too, but
yeah.
kind of got a little bit lighter now. So I don't think he's like a whole lot of the Jack Black anymore. So, right. But shout out to Mark Young nonetheless. So keep going, brother. Okay. So Eric, we briefly the questions here, Perico. We're now down to the fun ones. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So normally when I do these questions, it's best to always throw in currently because I'm assuming everyone's taste and music taste also change as well here too. So for the first one, what would you say is currently your favorite food?
Favorite food? Tough one. You can't go wrong with any sort of sushi or some seafood. That's usually like my go-to. Or honestly, like any sort of like good steak. Any sort of good steak, man. Or very traditional when it comes to it. But yeah, sushi or steak, I can go with either any day of the week.
I'll say the Asian food was kind of creeping its way back in. I thought Italian was kind of skyrocketing there a little bit.
I will say though, another one just to toss in there, ramen. I had it for the first time a couple months back. Again, don't want to sound like I'm like sheltered or whatever, but like, man, do love me some good ramen.
Surprised I actually tried that when I was on one of my recent trips out to England, Scotland, and Wales. And it was in a brief stop in Wales. It was in the hotel, yeah, that's right. It was in the restaurant, part of the hotel there. And one of it was a ramen style dish. I'd say it was good, but it wasn't knock your socks off. Very good.
Yeah, that's fair.
But nonetheless, great choices nonetheless. And for the next one, what is currently your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? It's been a while since I really sat down to watch a good movie. I will say one that's like a classic for me is always going to be like, I guess like maybe two that would always be a classic is probably going to be like The Dark Knight and American Psycho. Those are always some like just good classics. One that really surprised me that is a recent movie is Small Engine Repair. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. That's a pretty awesome one. It's on Netflix too, and it's very unsuspecting how it goes. That's a really good one.
I was going to say, you got to go with the Christian Bale's there first. I was wondering, is Christian Bale in this one?
No, he isn't. He's, as much as I love Christian Bale, like that, one of my favorite actors, but like, yeah, Small Engine Repair. I don't really know who was acting in it, to be totally honest, but it's a wicked movie.
All right. It sounds like a scary movie, so I'm going to maybe save that for October.
It's not really a scary movie. It's just a really good storyline, and like, it just kind of, it takes a turn. I'm going to leave it at that.
And I mean, that's what good stories are supposed to be, so you would hope so.
And can't go wrong with Falling Down.
Who's in Falling Down?
That's another classic one. But like, is it Michael? I think it's Michael Douglas who's in it.
Not too sure. I haven't seen it, so I'm probably add that to the list as well.
That's a good one. Real good one.
I'm kind of in a TV series for spree, so I don't know if you have a favorite TV series you also got into.
Usually I'm watching TV series just as like a little bit of background noise, something to kind of relax at the end of the night with in some ways, just like something that's easy if I've been working all day. I usually my go-tos would be like Trailer Park Boys, for all the fellow Canadians out there, or even some Americans I know who know that one. Letterkenny, Shoresy. I do really love Seinfeld. Some animated like older Simpsons, some Family Guy. I do like that a lot. I do like my anime a little bit. I recently went back and watched some older animes, that I grew up with, just for some fun and some nostalgia. Parasite's a really good anime that I like as well, and I would say those would be some of the easy ones. I haven't really dove into like some of the newer ones per se. I mean, there was a lot of other ones that I've could have listed off as well, but I haven't really kept up to date with a lot of the new dramas or TV series or anything like that.
Yeah, I remember anime has always been real good back in the day with Toonami. I don't know if Canada had their own.
Yeah, I used to be a huge anime kid when I was young. They kind of dipped out, then kind of just got back into it for a little bit of nostalgia, and it's just fun to watch and kind of reminisce in some ways.
I know the recent passing of Akira Toriyama. I think most people are reminiscing about old Dragon Ball days.
That one and Kazuki Takahashi. That was another one that was really like impactful for me. I used to be a big Yu-Gi-Oh kid when I was younger, and like I still dabble like with some of the video games like online now, and like even when I'm like with some of like my really close friends, it's like, all right, I'll hang out, let's duel, let's catch up, and like get back to roots, and like I'll do that. But like I remember when hearing of his passing, I was like, man, I owe a lot of my childhood to that guy, which was crazy.
Very much him and a good number of other guys as well here too. So I mean, yeah, but great choices nonetheless. For the next one, I don't know if you drink, but if you do, what's your favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink?
Let's say like non-alcoholic drinks. I love a good coffee. Whether it is just black, I like my coffee black, or a nice iced coffee, iced lattes, or even just like some sort of sparkling water for the most part, or regular water. If we're talking alcoholic, I do like a nice IPA. I like pretty much a lager, a pilsner, darks, stouts, porters. I like anything that really isn't like a wheat ale in terms of beverages. There's one alcoholic beverage that I had that was like, with all like the craft breweries, like the can and the design is like half of why you buy it for the most part. I bought one like randomly on a whim just because, looked at the can like, oh, the artwork was pretty deadly, and I do like some good artwork as well. And that's obviously what draws you in, just kind of like CDs did back in the day. But essentially, this one, I didn't read it close enough. It was a cupcake IPA, and it literally tasted like you were drinking the icing from a cupcake. Had around 3 sips of it. I'm thinking it would have gotten better, and nope, immediately down the drain. It was a bad one. But yeah, otherwise, the ones that I've listed, that's kind of like my go-tos if I'm going to have any sort of alcoholic drink. I don't really mess with like the hard stuff anymore. I really try to slow down with all of that in general, to be totally honest, anyways.
Let's go back to your slang real quick. I thought it was supposed to be fire, not deadly. That was supposed to be the new Gen Z sort of phrase these days.
Is it? Oh man, I can't keep up with Gen Zers and like, what is it, the alpha generation? Like, I can't keep up with everything that they're saying. It's like I open Instagram and TikTok every day of the week, and it's just like I can't keep up. Can't do it. There's a new word for something that already existed, like that just didn't need another word. And again, old man yells at cloud here, right? But like I don't know, I can't keep up. It's fire, it's sick, it's deadly, it's whatever you want it to be, I guess.
I like sticking with sick. Always sounded better. At least that was the word I used to grow up with. So, hey.
Sick, the universal one. We should just keep it at sick, right?
Oh, dude, that's so sick, man. So,
right? Hey, I flip now. Say the whole thing I think is sick, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the opening line with that whole introduction. Yeah. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I try to remember all the numbers, but it's pretty complicated to say the least. It's like a long barcode, but
Some barcode that was pulled from something.
something. But regardless,
Yeah.
and great choices nonetheless. And for the last one, here, this one's a little twist on this one, but what would you say is currently your favorite song, both in the mainstream world and then one from the indie community?
Let's say one from the indie community would have to be. I mean, are they really indie? It's hard to say. I would have to say I'm really liking the new song "Crying" from Static Dress a lot. I really like that one a lot. And if I can throw one more in from the underground, it would have to be "Still Love" from Teenage Wrist. I do like those bands, and I got to do one more. The song "Worry" from the band Perish. They kind of have like that Tool AE, like on the song Anima, in their name. So PAERISH. That band is so good. I love that band a lot. And they're this really tiny band from France, but they're so sick. And sorry, we're going to do one more. Just one album rec. It's like Dear Lemon High from K.O. Nashi. That is an album that you need to listen to. Not kidding. Perfect from front to back. And talking about the mainstream, I have to say the new Knock Loose is really what I'm into right now. That's like on my gym playlist nonstop. Them, and if I'm talking non-gym playlist and something I just want to vibe out with, probably anything from just Tame Impala, specifically Currents, or specifically the album Currents. Anything from that album.
I'll say that you do all the praise in Pantera and you don't give Dime any love.
Well, I think that was to be expected. You know what I mean? It's like everyone is. I even see it on YouTube. It's like even some of my non-Pantera videos, and don't get me wrong, I do appreciate it, but it's like it's a non-Pantera thing or a non-Dime thing, then I still get the hell yeah, get you pull brother, and I'm like, well, thanks man, appreciate it, or thanks whoever, that's sweet. But even though it's not a Dime video, but hell yeah, I'll take it. That's fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like I listen to other things outside of Pantera as well, even though my YouTube channel probably doesn't reflect that. But yeah, I also want to give that as well, that like I do listen to other things outside of mainly what I post on YouTube or Instagram and everything like that. Maybe that's just kind of just for me.
Yeah, those busting chops right there, but at least put it out there.
You know what I mean? Imagine if I'm gonna just hard shift and like I'm gonna start doing like Tame Impala and John Mayer covers exclusively on Instagram.
I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat, but we'll see what happens. Might be able to pull some people. So
hey, you never know, right? So new audiences, expand the horizons, all that good stuff, right?
A positive risk, as we said earlier.
Positive risks. Try something new.
Yeah, but great choices nonetheless there too. So
yeah.
Right. Eric, we are down to one more question on my podcast, but I guess before we jump into it, now you can ask me if you have any other questions. But I guess, do you have any other questions for me, or any final words you want to say before we jump into the last question?
Well, I don't know if I have any maybe outstanding questions or anything like that, but I just want to say thanks for giving me the opportunity to hang out and like jump on the podcast and get to know each other a little bit and hang out and like share a little bit about me with you and your audience. Like this has been fun. I really had a great time.
No worries. And I'm gonna say it's probably gonna come to him later. I was gonna be like, no, I've been to ask him that question. Damn it! Well, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll edit it in post.
Okay, we'll see what happens there too. But maybe at some point we'll do a part 2 at some point. We'll see what happens because we started a little bit later. It's almost like getting close to 2 hours, but we'll see what happens. But if you don't have any other questions, here's how the last question would go. And this one's I'm actually gonna combine a little bit here, but here's how it's gonna go. So, given what COVID has done, I know you got sick right there a little bit, but it looks like you came out better and stronger. You got a YouTube channel, you're in a band. I think killing it right there, also doing music teaching and everything. But for those musicians and people who've been impacted by COVID, and even musicians who have been impacted by things like currently AI, because I know you mentioned about it earlier here too. So, what message of hope can you give to musicians and people out there to, one, overcome challenges and try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
I guess I can break that down into maybe like maybe a couple different categories. We'll talk about the AI one. I would say you're best to learn the software as best as you can. You don't have to be a subject expert to learn the software, but if you learn it in a basic capacity where it can improve your workflow and you can use that as a tool, using AI as a tool to help you do your job better or help you be creative in some way, whether it is, let's say, for example, you go on ChatGPT or whatever your chatbot preferences and like, hey, write me a script for this YouTube video that I need to make, or write me a script that is outlining this guitar that I'm reviewing. That will save you so much time instead of you having to fumble through, write something and taking up so much time. Like that just makes your workflow way much more easier. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm reaching out to, like help me write a song, and not even saying like, write a song, guitars and everything, music. Write me some lyrics. I'm going to prompt it with certain keywords and themes and ideas, and I'm going to copy and paste maybe current lyrics that I have. Help me finish this song. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that is going to help me see what a finished song looks like in terms of lyric sets or a set of lyrics. And how can I take that and maybe tweak it and use that human element as a creator and as a musician to make it more personal and my own? Because if you're just using ChatGPT to do the work for you, you can tell it's like extremely robotic because it's a machine. It's a robot at the end of the day. So what you want to do is use that to maybe kind of help you get through a couple hurdles in maybe that creativity process, or like to break the ice, and then pull from it and then make it more human, and then use your own human editing skills with it and like put your own human experience on it as well, rather than just leaving it as it is. So I would say using that in terms of like the creative side, or even like, as I said earlier, like, how do I figure out this song? Like, okay, well, download the MP3. That's real easy things, youtube.mp3.com or whatever it is. Get the song from YouTube, upload it to the AI music separator, and figure out how you can program the drums to do a cover for that song because you have the drums isolated right in front of you, or how you can actually learn that song on guitar, bass, or whatever other instruments there are in, or just what is this vocalist doing? I want to hear the vocal line isolated entirely. Oh, perfect. There's this. Oh, there's the harmonies. Now I can hear them better rather than just guessing. You know what I mean? So I would just say for the AI side, understand it in some capacity where you're able to use it as a tool to benefit yourself in the creative process and not in the overall grand scheme of thing, and like having AI do the work for you. I would say that learn it as best as you can and incorporate it as a tool, not as the overarching concept. In terms of like the post-pandemic world, I would have to say give yourself some patience. That'd be my biggest piece of advice. I mean, I think with the last couple of years, like we've all really been told to like be patient. I would say that'd be the biggest thing. Like be patient, be like nicer to yourself, and allow yourself to kind of forgive, like, and if you've made mistakes or whatever, or like for being hard on yourself, or maybe if you can't reach this goal or something like that, just be able to kind of reflect and be a little bit easier on yourself and be understanding of like where you are at right now and maybe how you can adjust the goalpost. So if we're going to use another analogy, like maybe we need to move like the soccer net closer up on the field to make it a little bit easier for you. Maybe we need to, do something different to the playing field to make it easier for you to achieve that goal. Okay. So if that kind of makes sense. So it's not even about like, winning the game of soccer. It's just kind of about kicking the ball or getting the ball into the net. So just really like scaling down our goals and like compartmentalizing it and like, okay, how can I scaffold this and put this into like a few different steps? And like, okay, well, I hit this goal. Let's put the goalpost a little bit further. Can I reach that? But also just being easier on yourself too, just because the last couple of years it broke a lot of us down in many different ways. So I would say if you're able to be easier on yourself, reflect and learn from that and be a better person tomorrow than you are today, you're probably doing something good.
Spoken like a true prodigy. There.
Oh, I tried, but thank you.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a prodigy, but try to offer some sort of advice in any way that I can.
Well, it's also a Pulp Fiction quote. I was like taking it because it was Harvey Keitel, actually. Keitel, I don't know. But regardless, he had actually said that in Pulp Fiction. I always loved it for some reason. So I always like to say when people would normally give that sort of advice or whatever advice it is they like to give as well. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
no worries. So Eric, we reached the end of my podcast right here, and boy, oh boy, did we talk for a good bit right here. And I guess before we close, got any final words, any shouts you want to give before we close?
Yeah, I guess it's once again, thanks again for having me on the podcast. Had a great time. This was fun. Definitely, if you got a spot that you want to do this again, let's definitely do it again. More than happy to do it. I just want to say a big thank you and shout out to all the supporters on my different social media channels who have, grown the community on whichever social media platform that you're engaging with the things that I post on. And I really appreciate, the people that just keep coming back and just engaging and who make the community what it is. And, everyone who likes, subscribes, follows, all that stuff, and who shows interest in the things that I do. And, we've been able to make a community around that. And it's kind of the reason why I keep doing it, even though as fun as it is for myself, it's fun to share it with others too. And I'm just happy and fortunate, thankful that there are people who are interested in what I do and, are receptive of what I do. So I really do appreciate that. Shout out to all the homies back in the hometown, and all the homies, obviously in the music scene that I'm in, and all the friends worldwide, again, wouldn't be here without, all of your support. So I really do appreciate you guys, wherever you are across the different parts of the world. It's, hats off to you guys. I owe a lot to y'all.
Hey, boy, a little southern dialect there. That's pretty good. So, actually, in our case, since I'm from Pittsburgh, we always say, shout out to all Yins. That's what we like to say, our Yins guys.
All Yins, okay.
So, hey, Tom, something new right there. So that's all good. And, hey, guys, just real quick, can you just list the social media that you're on, just you in particular, and then if you want to list the social media and streaming platforms that Neck of the Woods is on, go ahead real quick.
Yeah, sure. So Neck of the Woods is on all streaming platforms, whatever way that you get your music. Neck of the Woods is also on all sorts of social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. And myself, I'm on Instagram, and I guess for Neck of the Woods, it's just Neck of the Woods Band, I'm pretty sure. If not, we'll link it down below. Then myself, it's at ERC_MRTN for Instagram. YouTube, if you just type in my name, it'll probably be in the subject title here, or the podcast title. And I'm on TikTok. I'm pretty sure it's the same as Instagram, and same with Threads, the exact same as Threads, or the exact same handle as Instagram. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to put out a new video every week or so. And if you are semi-local to myself, I'm always looking to take on extra guitars to fix and mod, and also to put that onto YouTube and teach some other people how they can fix and mod their guitars as well as other guitar-related content, and have some fun with it along the way.
And just real quick, is that just one band on the shirt, or I guess is there numerous bands on the sleeve on your shirt right there?
Oh, this is my friend's company. His name's Kurt. He owns a company. He owns a few companies called BC. This is one of his companies called BC Plugs. So, like ear stretchers and like spacers and all that. So he makes like his own like actual stretchers and spacers, and he has like a clothing line that goes with it as well. So I've got to support the homies as much as I can. So BC Plugs, if you have stretched ears and you want like some of the best stuff that's out there, definitely go hit up Kurt. I don't know, maybe we can drop a link below, which would be super deadly. He also has another t-shirt company. I think it's called Waifu. It's very anime based. I don't remember the spelling on it. I know the number 4 is in there. I can't remember where in the word waifu the number 4 is, but if you look it up on Instagram, it'll pop up. Waifu, it's all like anime, design shirts and things like that. So yeah, go ahead and check it out if that's your thing as well. But yeah, support the homies.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks for sharing that too. Also, make sure you send me that link. I'll make sure I put it down in the description below.
Yeah, I will email it to you later.
Okay. But to close out like this, everyone, my guest today was Eric Morettin. He's from I would say the outskirts of Vancouver, I should say. I always want to say Vancouver, so.
I think you should say Vancouver.
Vancouver, whatever. But he's all on the west coast of Canada, so there we go. But he's part of the band Neck of the Woods. He's also got his own YouTube channel based on his name. So make sure you go hit him up on the socials. Go see what these boys are doing out there. These guys are kicking some major ass right there. And rest in peace to Dimebag Daryl, but thank you so much for representing him as well, Eric. So
rest in peace to Dime, as always. Thank you.
Right. So Eric, you stay safe because it's a crazy world out there. Rock on.
You as well. Thanks, Brian. Cheers.